right, welcome back everyone for another deep dive. Today we're going down the St. Lawrence River
Oh, wow.
with the container ship, the MSC Donata, and
Okay.
yeah, we've got specs on the ship itself, and we've got a ton of information on the river.
Yeah,
And our goal today is to see what kind of connections we can find.
sounds good.
Yeah, so let's jump right in. This MSC Donata,
Okay.
it was built in South Korea
All right.
back in 2002, and it's huge. It's like
Oh, wow.
257 meters long, 32 meters wide.
Wow, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a big ship. And it flies the Panamanian flag.
Yeah.
It's owned by a Swiss company,
Interesting.
but it's managed out of Cyprus.
Huh.
So very international.
Yeah.
And this thing can carry hazardous materials. And its current draft, the depth below the waterline,
Huh.
it's 10.8 meters, which is pretty significant.
Oh, yeah.
It means it's carrying a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, just think about that. A ship that's longer than 2 football fields, moving all this stuff all across the globe.
It really is amazing, just the scale of it.
Yeah.
You think about a ship like that connecting, the places where they make all this stuff to us, the consumers, and it's just this constant flow, and we never really think about it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And speaking of, all that moving across the globe, this ship just finished a 10-day trip
Okay.
from Le Havre over to Montreal, which is over 3,000 nautical miles, but an average speed of almost 10 knots.
Wow.
So it was battling, pretty strong winds up to 33 knots.
Oh, yeah.
And temperatures ranging from like -17 to almost 13 degrees Celsius.
That's a pretty big swing.
It is a pretty big swing.
Yeah.
And it's just a normal trip for one of these ships.
Yeah, and just goes to show, how dedicated everyone is to keep that global supply chain moving, just through all kinds of weather.
Absolutely. All right, so now let's look at the river itself,
Okay.
the St. Lawrence River. This thing's over 1,600 kilometers long from Lake Ontario to the Atlantic. 16th longest river in the world, and the second highest water discharge in North America.
That's a lot of water.
A lot of water. And geologically speaking, it's actually pretty young.
Really?
Yeah, formed around 6,500 BC
Okay.
after all those glaciers retreated.
Huh. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, before Europeans showed up,
Oh, yeah.
there were a bunch of different indigenous peoples who lived along the river,
Right.
and they had different names for it, like the Walking River,
Whoa.
the Sliding River, there was the Wipastukaja Sipo, all sorts of different names that really highlight, how important this river was to them.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
It makes you think about how we see rivers.
Yeah.
We might just call it the river,
Right.
but to them it was something much more.
Absolutely. So then in 1535, Jacques Cartier shows up,
Right.
first European to chart the river, names it after St. Lawrence.
Of course.
Yeah. And from there, it became a vital gateway for exploration, trade, settlement, all that. Even played a role in World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some military operations. And today, over 80% of Quebec's population lives along this river.
Wow.
So it's still incredibly important.
Yeah, that makes you think about how, geography really shapes civilizations. The St. Lawrence River, it's accessible, it has resources,
Right.
and that's why so many people settled there.
Absolutely. And then in 1959, you have Canada and the U.S. They complete the St. Lawrence Seaway,
Oh, yeah.
which was this huge project
Yeah.
that allowed these deep draft ocean vessels, like the Donata, to access the Great Lakes. So now you have this 3,700-kilometer waterway,
Wow.
and it really shifted trade dynamics.
I bet.
Even affected older routes like the Erie Canal.
Yeah, it's just amazing, how we can change the natural world to facilitate trade.
Right.
Like the Seaway, that's a huge example of that. And it has consequences,
Yeah,
all across the globe.
absolutely. Now, navigating the St. Lawrence isn't a walk in the park.
Oh, I bet not.
You've got varying widths and depths, strong tides and currents, ice in the winter, both banked ice that forms along the shores
Right.
and conglomerate ice,
Yeah.
which are these big masses of frozen chunks. And then you've got all the environmental concerns like pollution,
Yeah.
invasive species. There's a campaign called Save the River that's trying to address all this. And the river itself has 5 distinct sections,
Wow.
and they all have their own navigational challenges.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how we need to balance using this resource for economic gain
Right.
with protecting it.
Yeah.
We need to be good stewards of the environment.
Absolutely. So let's turn to the MSC Donata's own history.
Okay.
For the most part, it's got a pretty clean record.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a drug bust back in 2017.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the Dardanelles. 212 kilos of cocaine were found.
Wow.
Yeah, and that same year it had a minor collision with another ship in Greece called the Idapitos.
Okay.
But on a more positive note, it received the gold-headed cane. Yeah, the gold-headed cane for the Montreal Port Authority in 2023.
Ah.
Yeah, it's the first ocean-going vessel to reach the port that year
Oh, wow.
without any stops. And the captain, Captain Singh Ranjit Kumar, accepted the award.
Wow, that's so interesting how,
Yeah.
one ship can be involved in so many different things,
Yeah.
From illegal smuggling to celebrations. It's kind of a microcosm of the whole world.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, when we look at the MSC Donata's voyage and the St. Lawrence River's history, it's amazing to see how connected everything is.
Yeah.
Of ancient indigenous routes to these massive modern ships and the occasional crazy event that happens along the way. Both the ship and the river have these incredible stories embedded in them. And I mean, just think about all the stuff we use every day and how it represents this huge global network of commerce. It really makes you wonder, what other hidden histories are flowing beneath the surface of, the things we take for granted every day?
That's a great question.